So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And Jim, this is all you.
Yeah, so the Hamilton team, which is the director Lin-Manuel Miranda and basically all of the non-actors, the choreographers, and all that, are suing the Door Christian Fellowship of McAllen, Texas. Yes, right here in Texas, folks, um, because they decided to steal the intellectual property of the Hamilton team. And the Door is a non-denominational church. There's a lot of them running around. And on the 5th, 6th of August, they put on a play, or they put on Hamilton, and they changed it in very Christian ways. Hamilton gets saved. They add some other verses and change some lines and add some things to it to Christianize it and of course make it better, the way all Christian media seems to be better than secular. But and so they found out about this on Friday, and I believe Hemant Menta wrote the story. And the Hamilton team, a spokesman for the Hamilton team, got called him up, or a lawyer called up the Door and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said basically, yeah, you can put Saturday's show on. So there were some people saying that the Door is lying when they say they were given permission to put it on. That's not entirely true. They were given permission to put it on Saturday. The problem is that they didn't tell them that they had changed the show at all. And I don't know if this didn't come up because they may not have realized that Christian churches will ruin anything by making it Christian. Um, but basically, there's some speculation that maybe they thought, because after the show, the main pastor gets up and gives a homily or a speech, and then at the end of the speech, he basically likens homosexuality to uh, alcohol and drug abuse, marriage problems, and which is little anti-LGBTQIA. Although they, of course, claim to not be that. They make room for everybody, they say. But I'm sure it's just a hate the sin, love the sinner type thing. And so, yeah, court's going to decide whether it's actually theft of intellectual property. Imagine that, a church stealing. So we'll see what happens off of that. But and this is not the first time the Doors done this. They did it to the live version of Beauty and the Beast as well. And if you go and try and find any of this on their website is a desert now. They used to have all kinds of stuff up. If you go to their website and you click on any of the links to their YouTube is sorry, I said website. It's their YouTube is completely devoid of all content at the moment. Their website does link to it. They're supposed to have sermons and other stuff, but it's not there. So if you want to go see the offending pieces, I would go check out Hemant Menta's Twitter feed right around the 5th and 6th of August after that, because he's posted most of the most horrifying things. But yeah, imagine for a moment that Christians are stealing people's intellectual property.
No, that never happens.
Now, there's a long
No, it
history of that
doesn't.
happening.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and this
Seth Andrews. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that
No,
Seth Andrews did a really good lecture entitled "The Copycats: How Christianity Steals the Best Ideas," and it's about how the churches have co-opted popular culture and tried to turn it into Christian culture. So there's a long history of this type of thing of trying to co-opt popular culture. One of the things that really bothered me about it was they likening quote unquote homosexuality to drug addiction, alcoholism, and financial struggles. And now I'm going to put my Christian hat on. I can see where they might think of the first three as sins, which I totally disagree with, but I can see if in their mindset. But are they equating financial problems to a sin now? Or is it that if you sin, you have financial problems, which implies to me that poor people are sinners, right? And I'm not sure if it's a sin to be poor or that you're poor because you're sin, but no matter what, it seems like a way to make people feel bad about themselves and then run to the church for redemption, right? And that
Mhm.
didn't sit wrong with me at all. Emma,
Yeah,
do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I wonder if it's meant to be that being homosexual is what causes you to have financial problems in some way. Um, I mean, I feel like my reaction to the news story in general makes me a bit of a Debbie Downer. My reaction is that the mainstream response is always kind of cowardly. I would
Mm.
like, the Dramatists Guild is protecting writers and their intellectual property. That's fantastic. But I would love for them to say, it's bad because it's deeply homophobic. Whereas they never explicitly mention it, they dance around the issue, and then at the very end of their sort of message about it, they're like, and also we're inclusive. And you're supposed to sort of guess from that they're saying that they don't agree with it. There's just this like West End Hollywood thing of not wanting to offend the homophobes because that's still a part of the audience. That always really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah,
yeah.
this
Th-
particular, no, I was gonna just say like this particular this particular production of itself, especially when it came with the homophobic comments, was at the altar call, as they say in evangelical churches, when they were doing the like maybe you have problems with alcohol, with drugs, maybe you're struggling with homosexuality, and even they released. I believe that the Doors did release a statement saying that no, we don't have an issue with homosexual people. It's just that we were just inviting those who are wanting to change or get saved, or if they're struggling, for God to come in, because we love everybody, like you were mentioning, Emma. But what were you going to go say? What were you saying, Jim?
I would say, yeah, because that's probably the most egregious part in many ways is equating homosexuality to drug or alcohol abuse. The intellectual property theft is kind of secondary to that because of the impact those words can have on people and the negative impact. Those are the kinds of things that drive suicide up. Those are the kinds of things that make people depressed and think that they should not, that they're not good people. And
Right,
that's never okay. So
right.
I do think that is the more egregious part than the intellectual property theft.
Hmm.
But I think it's the intellectual property theft that's going to cost the door some money. Um,
Hmm.
Hopefully cost them some money, but it really should be the fact that they're homophobic.
I want to say both, but I just want to point this out that according to the article that we read, that under copyright law, churches have an exemption that allows them to perform copyrighted music during religious services. However, the problem with them is that they streamed it on their YouTube page.
Well,
that
that's
was
not the
the
only problem
issue.
with that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
right.
was
It's not
not
the
the only
only
problem,
problem.
right?
Y- Yeah,
So they also
and
sold
changing.
concessions. Uh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the
and
selling of the
change.
concessions, the streaming, and
Mm.
the. Sorry, folks. We got a little bit of delay between some of us, so it's making it a little bit more awkward than it should be.
We're all just gonna shut up and let Jim talk. Go ahead.
I talk enough as it is. So no.
Yeah, but yeah, the changing of the words, the intellectual property, as far as like what the Doors did and streaming it, and on their particular website, well, not website, but the YouTube page as well, basically caused the whole cease and desist thing. But it's important that you all brought up the equating being homosexual to drug and alcohol use and money problems, because of what that actually puts into the atmosphere when it comes to uh, this more homophobic rhetoric and how it does make people feel. Um, One of the main reasons why in the LGBTQIA plus community there are higher rates of suicide is because of this very thing. um, People are not able to be themselves because they are told that how they feel and how they live their lives is considered sinful. They're going to hell if they don't change. And they can, and that also stigmatizes lifestyles and also how people are and keeps them from living their truth. And then they don't necessarily feel that they are worthy to live or it's not proper to live, and then they could possibly end up taking their life because they're not accepted for who they are. And that's the really worrisome part. And I was even more appalled at the pastor when he was doing his whole altar call, and he actually looked like he was really concerned for people when he was really making this whole um imploring for people to, to come to Jesus if they're struggling with these things. Did anybody else see that? And I'm curious to know what you guys' thoughts were you about that. What about Emma? What did you think?
I mean, they're essentially advertising conversion therapy. That's what
Hmm.
that is. It's this attitude, and it's, I think a lot of religious people think that this is a nicer way of saying it. And I've had this said to me as well as a bisexual person. I don't judge you, but God will. And it doesn't hurt people any less. It's just as damaging because somebody is trying to make you feel like your existence is wrong in the eyes of the Lord. It doesn't take the sting out of it. So yeah, that kind of thing upsets me.
But when you say that I'm not judging you, the Lord is judging you, you are judging.
Hmm.
It is
You're
judgmental.
Yeah, it's hiding behind that cloak of hate the sin but love the sinner, and they don't do that. They hate the sinner just as much as the sin. They just hide behind a cloak of saying that they don't hate you, right? But they do.
Mhm, mhm. Under the dubious blessings of Christianity, there go I. I just think that it's just so, it's so just disheartening that that even happened. It kind of even reminds me of, I don't know, like I know I was a when I was a Christian, I used to watch a lot of Trinity Broadcasting Network, and I remember them oftentimes taking like secular um ish genres and trying to church it up to make them seem hip and cool, and and the kids can dig it so they can really get into it. And I almost feel like that is what was, I guess, like the plan here when they put on Hamilton, because like it's like what, the longest running show and one of the biggest Broadway hits of all time. And and the first thing that the Doors Church decided to do was say, let's take Hamilton, make it Jesus-y, and fuck it up.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the conversation.
It's very hello
Well,
fellow
they did a
kids,
good
isn't it?
job.
Yeah, especially with the fuck it up part.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
it
of the things they
it
changed,
surprises
it
me
makes
that
the
they.
play make less sense, honestly. So
It really
I'm sorry,
surprises me too
Jim. Go
that
ahead
they
and
feel they
finish your
have.
thought, and then
I was
I'm
thinking
sorry,
it's really
guys.
sad to me that
I
they
said,
feel like they have to co- co-opt popular culture instead of creating their own culture, right? That's one of the things that gets
Oh,
me.
that's too much like
There's
right.
plenty of right. There's plenty of Christian music out there. You don't have to make a CD or album cover just like the popular music cover that's out there right now. You don't need to co-opt a play on Hamilton. Write your own play, right? Create Christ culture instead of co-opting popular culture. I just don't get why they do that. It
Yeah.
seems to me that
And
creating your own culture would be better
and
for
go
them in
ahead.
the long run.
Right. And Jim, could you just go ahead and just like finish your thought that you were saying earlier?
Well, in order to be a good writer or to be creative in anything, I think you have to consume a lot of the creative content you're trying to create, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're a painter, you need to go look at a lot of paintings. If you're a writer, you got to go and read a lot, and I see that in almost everything creative. And most Christians only want to read the Bible, and the Bible is at best badly written. So if that's your standard, then your content, everything you do is going to suck rocks because it's not original, it's not inventive, it's barely readable. And I'm not talking about the begats, I'm talking about like Maccabees and some of the more exciting stuff in there is still, by even the standards of the day, pretty boring. Gilgamesh is better. It's a better told story. And so it's not surprising that people who only read the Bible and only want to read the Bible um, can't do anything but badly mimic what's going
Mm.
on around them without a full understanding of why the secular material actually works and theirs doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny how you even brought up Gilgamesh, because the thing about it is it was told way, way better on the Darmok and Jallard at Tanagra episode on Star Trek. I tried to read that in the Bible, and I was like, it's a boring ass book. But I want to go ahead and get some final thoughts before we move on into the next segment. Let's go ahead and start with Emma, then Jim, and then Kelley round us up.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame. I think I want to continue Kelly's point and just say, look, there's a whole Christian Netflix now of movies, terrible movies. But if people are writing all these movies, surely they could do some plays and some play some Christian music and stuff. Yeah, there's enough content out there that is Christian that they don't have to awkwardly steal plays and make them homophobic.
Yes, pure flicks.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And Jim? You're muted.
Sorry. For me,
Okay.
it really is just Christians getting away with stuff that nobody else can get away with. We thought about at the Free Thought Library doing a movie night for the locals, and we decided we couldn't do it because of copyright laws, and we would get into trouble. And here these guys are putting on a full blown play, changing things, and they're going to get away with it. It's like, yeah, this makes no sense to me. So I hope they don't get away with it. I wish they'd get called on the carpet more for being homophobic. Um, but it's going to be what it's going to be, and we'll see what happens.
Agreed. Well, if you guys want to put on a movie at the Free Thought Library, all you got to do is just say, hey, it's a religious service. Remember, they say that atheism is a religion anyway. Kelley.
Only if it's a musical, right? I think the best way to sum it up. I think the best way, really, to sum it all up is to quote Miranda when he said, "It's all up to the lawyers now." And it's just good to
Hmm.
see that the lawyers are on it, and I hope that something does come of it, even if it is just the church not being able to put the play on anymore. I hope something does come of it.
I do too. I really do. I just want to ask them, what were you thinking? Anywho, moving on.